I've been seeing more and more people do bad things in the CSGO market that could have been avoided with some simple tips. So this is 10 things anyone who is invested into CSGO should definitely know. But before we get into the 10 tips, something easy you should probably already know: don't buy prime cases. They are being dropped a lot still and will only go up with hype or FOMO, not because they're becoming more rare generally. Sometimes these cases can of course go up if there's more demand for opening it, but this is more of a short-term thing and not a reliable long-term investing opportunity. If they are discontinued, or you believe they soon will be discontinued, that is a totally different cup of tea that I won't be going into right now, although maybe a good idea for a future video. Point 1. Valve can always ruin skins forever. This point may sound weird, but it's true. The fact that for the past 10 years skins have been going good and people continue to believe in investing into the game does not mean it will be that way in the future. Valve can do countless things that would break the skins and the entire market as it is today. For example, they could ban third-party trading sites or selling sites. They would do this probably to try to keep all the money in the market in their own hands and get the most amount of fees on the transactions. So they would try to do it to increase profits, but it would most likely result in the opposite effect. This would be quite likely if they ever get bought out by a bigger company and that company just puts someone in charge who wants to maximize income through the game, instead of thinking about the market stability. This would be catastrophic, since without third-party sites, skins now don't have actual monetary value anymore, meaning everything gets smashed into the ground. Also, they could oversaturate the market with too many cool and unique stickers and skins, therefore breaking down the entire market. We are already seeing a lot of supply in both expensive skins and new stickers, with the new clean major stickers and the one operation per year approach Valve are taking, which include now full 4 skin collections per operation and 2 sticker collections, which is insane. We're getting so many stickers as well now. There is another way the market gets smashed, but that is not in the hands of Valve, but rather mostly in the hands of this man, Xi Jinping. He's the president of China, and if he were to ban opening cases like is already the case in the Netherlands and Belgium, or worse, ban trading altogether, the way the market works right now would cease to exist. A huge percentage of monthly opened cases are from China. You could say the market runs on them. Even the largest marketplace is Chinese. Steam is not the biggest, it's Buff163. They have more sales, they have more items, they have a lot more money flowing through there. Also, a lot of high tier collectors or people with a high inventory value or sticker crafters or collectors or anything, a lot of them are Chinese, so if trading or just opening CSGO cases were to become illegal in China, that would break everything down. All of these options are of course very unlikely, and Valve will definitely try and do anything to keep their money printer intact, but some things they just don't control. This means there are a lot of options for the market to burn down. I don't want to frighten you, of course, this is just something to keep in mind. It's a risk anyone who has put money into the game is dealing with, and the chance of something like this actually happening is really small, so don't worry too much for now. But this is also the reason investing in CSGO can be so successful, and that nicely leads me to my next point. Point 2. The market is very volatile. The next point is very well to keep in mind later in the video. It will play into other points as well. The CSGO market is really volatile, meaning prices can change a lot, both up and down. Just look at any spike ever, and oh, we've had a lot of those over the years. Summer hypes, item bubbles, right down market manipulation. Such a thing surely isn't possible in the real world market or crypto market, that's for sure. Not to discourage you, but it is something to keep in mind once again. In one way, this volatility is the whole reason CSGO investing can be so profitable, since prices can change this much this rapidly. If you were to put money in a trust fund or some safe stocks or whatever, you will almost know your money is quite safe, and you might get a few % profit, but no more. With CSGO investing, you can win big time, like double your money in a month, but you can also lose everything, in theory. In order to lose everything, you would have to either choose a horrible investment and go all in, or point 1 would have to occur. The safest items we have are cases, but nothing is ever certain. With all other items, there are just too many things that could happen, like re-releasing an old collection, or re-releasing better looking versions of skins. Cases could also be re-released in theory, but that has never happened, where a case was discontinued discontinued and then re-released. They did change stuff around with the drop pool, and they do re-release the old collections, like the knife collections they reuse or the glove collections they sometimes reuse, but they never reuse an entire case. They all eventually became rare, that's the point. It doesn't mean investing in CSGO is all bad though, you should just consider it. That's the whole point of this video, thinking about the way the market works and to see if you are okay with the risk that you're taking on your money. Point 3. Don't blindly buy into hypes and don't buy into other people's advice on a specific item. They base advice on their own investments sometimes. For this point, I want to say if a YouTuber is telling you something is a good investment, it probably means that they are invested into it. This doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing. I mean, if someone isn't invested into something themselves and yet they are telling you it is the best investment ever, they must not truly believe their own message, right? Or they would have invested into it themselves. That being said, don't buy an item if a YouTuber or someone else on Reddit, for example, makes a video about a certain item and the price spikes as a result. Actually, this kind of happened to me by accident, because I posted a video about some secret investments, so people would start to think more about different investments instead of just the Antwerp capsules. And I did explain this in the video, but mostly at the end, which I shouldn't have done because people didn't really get that message. The very first item I mentioned was the Liquid Fire Holo, and since the video did way better than my average video would, it kind of caused a FOMO into the item, which caused some people to buy it and therefore more people who didn't see my video to buy it because it spiked on the Steam market, and therefore it spiked even more. It has since crashed and re-leveled again, which is by the way a way better time to buy into anything. Don't buy at the peak, buy at the dip, or buy when it's level again. That's usually more safe. I do still believe it is a good investment because of the reasons I posed in that video. Although me just saying it makes it a worse investment because people will buy it, it will spike, people will buy in at the spike and it will crash and people will lose money. So don't buy it if it spikes again. If you really want to buy it, which I wouldn't suggest it, I would suggest looking for your own item that you really like. But if you really want to buy it when it's stable or when it's just dipped. A quickly rising item like that almost always comes back down again. Maybe not as low as before, but no way it settles at the peak. This situation is actually a perfect example of what I mean with my point here, since people in this case forgot to look at the price trend or the fact that it was being hyped by people and the price was inflated. You should always fully consider your own investments instead of blindly listening to anyone, which is my next point. Point 4. Do your own research into items. It's your own money. The point says a lot already. Do your own research. Well then, you might ask, how can you do that? Well, there are a lot of things to know, but let's start simple. It's always good to just think about the supply and demand for a certain item. This will help you understand how an item might be used in the future and if it could be potentially a good investment or maybe not. As an example, let's look at a few items and see if they're good investments long term or not. First off, we have the Dreams and Nightmares case. Oh, by the way, I'm picking items that should be pretty obvious if they're good or bad before we look at them, to make it more clear. To look at the demand for this case, we are lucky, since the opening numbers are more or less public because of Fjedjik. This is probably one of the best resources out there for any investor. The link is in the description. Here we can see the Dreams and Nightmares case has been opened 2.3 or 2.4 million times in the last month. That is quite a lot if we compare it to almost any other case. And yet you should know by now, if you were paying attention, that this isn't a good investment right now. And that is because we haven't yet looked at the supply for this case. The case is in the active drop pool, meaning it is currently dropped millions and millions of times a month. Almost certainly more than the amount being unboxed, since the price is going down slowly. And this will continue until it's discontinued, which will likely be for a very long while. That is the basic process of knowing if something is a good investment or not. But let's try one more because it gets more difficult than this. Let's take the Spirit paper from RMR. Its demand can be measured by counting the crafts made per month, which is exactly what Fellz does in his monthly sticker watch series. This is seriously a must-have tool for any CSGO investor, especially if you like stickers. Please check him out. Link is also in the description. Unfortunately, he doesn't check the sticker from my example, fair enough, because it's kind of trash. So I'm gonna have to guess. If I manually add together all the 4x, 3x, 2x and 1x sticker crafts with this sticker, I get a total of 2.7 million stickers applied, which may seem like a lot, and it is a lot, but once again, it still probably isn't the best investment due to the enormous amounts of supply generated during the sale of RMR. We don't know the exact numbers on this, but there must be tens of millions of capsules total claimed, of which a part is unboxed already. There are sometimes other things that play into it, but supply and demand are the two most basic principles you should always keep in mind when thinking of an investment. I shall now pick one of the investments I named previously, for example the liquid fire hollow. I reasoned the supply is reasonably high, but since the applying demand is so high and there aren't actually that many of them, the price must eventually go up if people want to continue to apply these, and that's what happened. And I believe it will continue to happen, but that's just speculation. Now further your own money part, because it needs to be said, if you're putting real life money into something, make sure it is something you yourself truly believe in and stand behind, because if it does fail, you are the only one losing money, apart from all the other people who probably also put money into it, but that's beside the point. Once again, it's your money, it's your investment. Don't come crying to me if it goes wrong. I warned you. Point 5. Only invest what you can afford to lose. This one might be a bit less obvious, but it is really important to at least think about. Since we've established the fact that the CSGO market is quite fluctuating, we know that the money you put into the game might be partially lost if you get unlucky or if something goes wrong. So it's always good to put only money into the game that you could potentially lose and still be fine. Like if you need money from your investments in CSGO to make rent that month or to not get into debt, maybe don't have that money in CSGO after all. A good way to deal with this is to know how much money you've put into CSGO, and when you make money on investments, cash it out until you have all the money you put into the game back. And the only money left at risk is the profit you made. So you could lose anything and still have not lost anything. Technically, you only lost the money you already made. This is a way to barrier yourself off from it and to make sure you're safe if the whole market does ever go to shit. For this exercise, just imagine losing access to your Steam account for any reason. Would that be detrimental, or would you as a person in real life still be fine? If the answer to that is you are severely effed, you might want to reevaluate some decisions. Point 6. Diversify, diversify, diversify! Okay, Eukild, chill down. No need to be that excited. But yeah, you're right. And this is my personal favorite and the most important point in my opinion, because it builds a certain amount of safety into your investments and it allows you to take less risk. The basic idea is, instead of buying one item 10 times, you buy 5 items 2 times or 10 items once. If you, for example, want to invest into some cases, don't just choose one case you think is the absolute best and just buy that one as many times as you can, but instead choose your top 5, or if you have a bigger budget, your top 10, and invest into those 10 different cases. This makes sure that even if 1 or 2 cases totally fail and aren't good at all, or not as well as you would have thought at least, the rest still do well and thus you still make profit. Even though if you would have gambled it could have been more, but it's still a lot of good and it's still a lot of profit, it's just safer. If you bet all your money on the wrong item and it crashes, recovering is a lot harder. It also means don't just buy into one item category, but look into a lot of different options to diversify as wide as possible. You might have heard me say this before in other videos, and what I mean with it is these items might not be the best thing to put all your money into, but to have a bit of money into, and if they do grow, you get some nice profit, and if they don't work out, it doesn't matter because it's only a small portion of your budget. So that's what I kind of mean with it, like it just builds safety into it. Even if one item fails, one item does good, overall your inventory is still in profit. That's why you would never see me sell my entire inventory to buy all into the clutch case or all into the CS20 case or whatever all those YouTubers want. No, I would always have a lot of different things. That's also why I have cases, stickers, patches, agents even. I have also of course play skins and stuff, but I just have everything because I never want to gamble on just one item. For example, if you really like one certain operation collection, don't just buy those items alone, because Valve could in theory re-release them again and crash the price. In the past, they re-released operation collections for like 3, 4 or even 5 operations with the same collection. Nowadays they don't usually do that anymore, we haven't seen it in a while, but they're still able to do it. And with a lot of different items, that effect is a lot less worse. Even if they re-release a collection, the price of some items might go down, but other items might do well, and that crash will be a lot less bad for you. Point 7. The best time to buy and sell. If you're planning to buy into some item, it's always good to consider when you're going to buy them and when to sell them again. For example, buying into items is the best to do when a new operation has just been released, because a lot of people want to sell old stuff for new items that are new with the operation. Or of course to just buy stars and gamble on the operation, because a lot of people like doing that too, especially when it first starts. To be able to do this properly, you have to roughly know when a new operation comes around, but you can guess quite accurately since they do one about every year in the current time frame of Valve. Another good time to buy is the summer sale or other sales, although they don't account for the whole market and they also don't lower prices as much as an operation does. The opposite is true for when to sell items. First of all, you need to think about how long you want to keep your items and when you want to sell them again. Timing the market is never perfectly accurate, but you can try to optimize it as much as possible. The general rule is that high prices on items are most prevalent when there is the fewest new content for the game, meaning no new cases, no operations or majors with sales coming. The reasoning behind this is that the absence of those events causes people to not have a thing to spend their money on, causing more people to invest into stuff that is older and causing more interest in all those older items that people won't be so interested in if there's a new fancy case or new fancy stickers that they can gamble on. That's why the summer hype of last year happened, because there was nothing to do. Currently we have a sale for Antwerp, hence no summer hype right now. Seems perfectly logical, doesn't it? Point 8. Long term is better than short term. In the short term, items can fluctuate a lot. It can be that you accidentally buy too high, leaving you with a loss after a couple of months. Long term, a lot of this risk evaporates away simply because short term hypes and crashes are just that, short term. That makes it a lot more reliable, and even if something goes down in the short term, as long as it's a long term viable investment, meaning supply goes down, prices go up, it's a viable investment and it will go up again in due time. Point 9. The market moves against the crypto market. Another good thing to keep in mind is the relation between the CSGO market and the crypto market. Since a lot of people are interested in CSGO items, are young and from the internet age, and thus also quite a few of them are interested in crypto. This means that for the people who are or have been invested in both, will be tempted when the crypto market is doing badly to cash out and reinvest into CSGO. This has the unintended effect that the CSGO market is partially bound to the crypto market, where if the crypto market is going down, the CSGO market will more easily go up, and vice versa. The opposite effect should also exist in theory, where if the CSGO market does badly, people will buy more crypto. But since the crypto market is way more mainstream and way bigger, this is barely noticeable. As an example, we can take the summer hype from last year, where the peak in, for example, the breakout case almost perfectly matches the insane dip in the Bitcoin that happened around that time. Here you can see how that looks, and you can almost see that they're almost identical, only going the opposite way, right? And finally, point 10. For you to sell higher, someone needs to buy it at that higher price. This is great to keep in mind when you're buying anything. For example, if you want to buy a Vox Holo from Catawise 2015 for around €1,000, you have to realize for you to make 50% profit on that item, someone needs to want to buy it from you in the future for €1,500. Sometimes something might seem like a great investment because, oh, there's so few of them and oh, it's so rare. But if no one wants to buy it from you or no one wants to pay more than the current price for it, it simply won't go up. If you're still watching, you clearly enjoyed the video. So for you, I have a special extra tip. Don't use the Steam market. There are plenty of good other options. You can look into getting on Buff or use a different marketplace. You have to know there are plenty of ways to buy and sell items nowadays for 2.5% or lower. So anything more than that is definitely unnecessary. I'll make a good video about all the possible ways to buy and sell or trade items in the future. So maybe subscribe for that if you want to notice that. Now, if you want to learn some more about investing into cases specifically, which in my opinion are the best investments ever, I think this video is perfect for you. If you're still watching, you're truly awesome. Thank you. Goodbye.